Sounds good.
So pressing the go live button.
Excellent. Live.
Okay, we are officially live, although we're not starting yet, which is absolutely fine. We don't have any people with us yet, but I'm sure we will have some joining us shortly.
Still plenty of time left.
I don't have to push a button to record anything. I don't think.
No,
it just sort of,
I think that's automatically done.
just sort of works.
Yeah, at least in the past.
Yeah.
But we need to follow up with the guys and see how we can change the host.
Yeah, I was chatting with the support person and she seemed to think it was fixed, and she logged in as you and was able to get host status. So
maybe it's somehow connected to the issue I experienced earlier today, that I'm not able to log in with my...
although I've got a little panel here that says speakers Peter and Cluid, and there's a big host button next to me. It just makes it would be obvious to be able to like
hand this over
and hand it over to you, but there isn't an option to do that.
Oh, good.
But it's fine. The world will not come to an end because we can't change hosts.
No. Oh, good. Oh, good. So what we were just talking about, I think jobs, new jobs.
New jobs, the jobs apocalypse, and whether it's real or not, or...
Yeah. No, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of people are currently talking about job losses, and you hear a lot about it in the news and everything.
Yes.
But obviously there will also be new jobs. And I think this will be super important in the future, having people in the company being responsible for AI and the implementation. Not sure what your takes are on that, but I think it's going to be super important.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is, if you just look at it as old school consulting and management practice, it's change management, right? Technology introduces change into the workplace, and there are ways of dealing with change, right? You need to put, assessments in place. You need to evaluate before and after. You need to put training in place. You need to put impact analysis. There's a lot of things that need to be done to take on new technology, and in many ways this is just a new technology. I think where it's different is the speed of which it's moving and the broad scope. So if you looked at something like mobile or the internet or something like that, these had specific impacts in particular sectors and areas, but they didn't impact every single person, in terms of jobs. And certainly they didn't immediately. I mean, the web started in the 90s, collapsed in the early 2000s, came back, and then gradually just became part of infrastructure. And then it sort of, well, not petered out, but it plateaued in terms of impact, right? It just became part of what we do. So I think there's an element to that with AI. The difference, though, is what's happened in maybe 5 years has happened in one, or 10 years in one. And then it's happening again in you get another 10 years in one. And the same thing again. So when churn happens so quickly, it's difficult to plan properly, because it takes you a year in a big organization to actually put change management plans in place. So it is really difficult, particularly for large organizations. I think for smaller ones, they can be more agile. They can take advantage of this, right? And we've spoken about this in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's super difficult at the moment. Even for us, it's hard to keep track of everything that's basically happening. And I think it took companies a while to realize that this is actually a thing and is super relevant for them, right? But now we are starting to see companies are recognizing it and recognizing that they need to change, and that they need people internally who are dealing with AI, who are taking responsibility and everything. And now it needs to happen really fast. I mean, this is literally the reason why we are talking about this today, and want to give knowledge to people and value to people. But I think that's a big problem right now, that companies, especially CEOs, want to change super quick right now.
That's true. And also it's difficult because for the first time, I think it's not clear who owns AI within an organization. If you talked about, maybe there was a new word processor that's come out, or there's a new particular technology or a new tool, then it would naturally fall under IT to assess it, and IT would control it.
Yeah.
But in many ways, this is a user-driven revolution where people are bringing, personal AI access into the organizations, and IT is almost a second thought in this, in terms of how do you manage that. So it's interesting. Peter, it's gone 4 o'clock. I think we maybe should be starting this webinar. Do you think we should? We just kick it off. We have people. We have a slide of a cat. I think this is all we really need to.
Excellent. Yeah, and we have a lot to cover today. So
we have a lot to cover. Absolutely.
Yeah, so let me officially kick this off for you.
Go for it.
All right. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our AI introduction webinar. I'm Peter, and together with my colleague Clued, we are excited to guide you through this introduction to AI and its transformative potential for your business and career. Today's session is designed with one clear goal: to help you understand AI and give you the practical knowledge and resources you need to take meaningful next steps, whether that's advancing your career or transforming your business. Throughout the session, I'll be monitoring the chat for your questions, which we'll address in our Q&A section at the end. And by the way, we are recording the webinar, so you can get access to the recording later. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to Clued to dive into the AI opportunity that's reshaping our business landscape.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Peter. For anybody who's watching, who can see the screen, hopefully you can. My name's Clued Probert. I'm the CEO of White Hat. Peter joins me today, and we are going to be going over an introduction to AI. And I know there's a lot of people on this webinar who've actually registered for it and attended in the past. It is an introduction to AI, rather than a deep dive into any particular element of technology. We're going to touch on a number of different things, and hopefully we can keep it a little fresh, and we'll bring in some new stuff each time for people who've joined us on a repeat basis. So we're going to look at the opportunity, look a little bit about what AI is all about, how to get started, focus on sales and marketing, and we'll have some questions at the end. And also we're going to go over some product releases that we intend to put out there in the marketplace to help move this forward. The most interesting thing, I think, that's changed over the last few years since the AI revolution started with ChatGPT is the opportunity has become a lot more obvious for businesses. And there's been various studies that have looked at this. There's some obvious low-hanging fruit in terms of customer support and marketing, writing, these type of things. But AI is broadly applicable across businesses. And there was an interesting study by Harvard that came out a month or so ago, which actually looked at the analysis of AI usage by individuals, by teams, and to see how they compared and contrasted. And this was a really interesting study. Individuals, when they were assessed on a number of tasks, were dramatically outperformed by individuals using AI, which was sort of expected. I think anybody would probably be able to say that. But also, interestingly enough, an individual with AI could outperform a team of people who didn't have access to AI. And obviously the team plus AI was better than all of them. So that's the first thing to note, is that if you put AI into a team situation, everybody gets better. And one interesting thing, it's not actually on this graph, that came out of that study was that if the teams were split in terms of their skill sets, for example, you had a technical group and a business group, then obviously the technical group would tend to lean towards solutions which were more technically focused. The business people would tend to produce more business-focused solutions and to goals. But when you introduced AI into that mix, it ended up being a lot more nuanced and a lot more balanced. So with a technical group, the AI gave business insights. And with a business group, the AI was able to provide technical insights. So everybody really benefited. And I think we could all learn from that. If you look at what's happened in the last couple of years, we've seen this with companies that we consult with. In the early days, the most obvious reaction to AI, certainly on the larger corporate side, was to ignore it. When it became obvious it was not going away, the initial usage of AI was focused on optimization. How can we make ourselves more profitable? How can we potentially get rid of staff? How can we not hire additional staff? And I think that is still the majority approach for large businesses at the moment. You've heard a lot in the news, if you've been following it recently, about job losses or hiring freezes from some of the big organizations, particularly in the States. I think what we're seeing as well is an opportunity to do something slightly different. So companies who might gain from productivity, put that gain back into the business and allow them to scale so they can do more with less. And a very few companies on the edge are taking it even further. They're saying, okay, this AI gives us some superpowers. What could we actually do that we could never do before? So it's not a matter of cutting people out of jobs, but it's, can we innovate? Can we push the boundaries? Can we go into markets or provide products or services that we could never do in the past? And I think those are the ones that are really going to shine in this space. From a corporate perspective, there's a lot going on. 75%, this was from a Microsoft study, people use AI in work. But interesting enough, 80% of companies have no policy in place for that usage. So there's an issue about compliance and about rollout. And if you think you've been left behind and you're not able to catch up with all of this, nearly 50% of people have only started using AI in less than 6 months ago. So it's always okay to get started in this process to catch up, because everybody is in the same space. There's been a lot of talk, particularly from some of the AI labs, about the impact of AI on jobs. There's been a few statistics randomly thrown around, but what we're seeing as a trend, and when a lot of people talk about this, it kind of means that everybody's in agreement, and we know at least what's going to happen within the next couple of years. And it's knowledge workers that are going to either suffer or benefit, depending on how you look at this. 80% of what knowledge workers do every day will be AI assisted within 2 years. I think this is true. There's also talk about massive reduction in hiring of early stage workers. And this remains to be seen actually how this is going to play out. There's an interesting viewpoint that new employees might be okay. Senior employees might be okay. And it's the middle management who might actually suffer. So you end up with a dumbbell type effect in the employment sector. And to be honest, nobody knows. And that is really going to be determined by the type of the AI applications and how they're specifically going to hit different sectors. You've probably seen AI flooding into all of the applications that you use. We're a HubSpot focused marketing agency, but whether you're HubSpot, whether you're Salesforce, or if you use any technical tools on the web, or any tools at all really, all of them will now have some type of AI stamp. Whether they are useful or not is a matter of opinion, but there's no going back from this. What's important as an individual and as a person working within an organization is that you maintain literacy in this space. You need to keep up to date with what is happening. It's very difficult. Peter and I live and breathe this every single day. We read the research reports. We are building product. We are following the leaders. We are creating AI systems. And even for us, it is very difficult. But you don't have to do that level of in-depth. You can keep up to date by just listening to podcasts and shows like this. Play with the tools, use them, see if you can find some usage within your own daily workflows. And then you're actually able to both stay ahead and you can start leading change within the organization. You can help other people adopt. You can help them identify specific use cases and reduce fear and doubt about job losses. And then that leads to better strategic decision making. It's important to know that AI has been around for a long time. It's not just the last couple of years. It's been going since the 1950s. It's gone through various waves of hype and despair, often called AI winters. And we're going through a particular hype phase at the moment. I like the Demis Hassabis quote in terms of definition of artificial intelligence is the science of making machines smart. And I think that's kind of what it is. It's general enough that it covers what we're trying to do. If you're looking for specific ideas, it's useful to step away a little from the chat model and think about what these systems are capable of. And here's just a bullet list of some of the things that we've identified as being particularly impactful for businesses. Planning, research, summarization, transcription, translating, drafting, classifying. These can be all worked into multiple business processes. And if I give you one tool, if you're looking at something to play with and to get started, the Notebook LM tool from Google is incredibly useful. It allows you to pull in multiple different sources, thousands of different pages, and to summarize those things. You can create a voiceover podcast from this. You can question this research. It's a very, very valuable tool for anybody who does research on the web. In terms of what's coming next, this framework was from OpenAI, and I think it's a good guide of where we are and where we're going. If you start from the outside circle and move in, we started with conversational AI, the chatbots that everybody is familiar with. Last year, we moved on to what's called reasoners, which was the O1 model when it first came out. There are now multiple different reasoning AIs. The reasoning AI, the difference this time is that instead of giving an instant answer from its memory, it goes through a thinking process, which can last several minutes, where it debates with itself different ways of coming up with an answer. This is a mirror of human thinking in many ways, because if I were to ask you a complex question, I wouldn't expect the first thing that pops into your mind to be the best answer. You might want to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes thinking about it and before coming back and giving me a more thoughtful response. And what they found is that when the AIs are given time to think, they give better answers. And this has got over one of the major early problems of AIs is their inability to do things like mathematics and complex reasoning. They're now very good at such things. In addition, they're very good at writing code. And what this enables them to do is the next stage of these circles, we move on to what's called agents. And agents, again, has multiple different definitions, but effectively an agent is an AI that can take action in the real world. So it can go off and do something for you. So it can do some research, it can go to the web, it can write things. If you connect it to your HubSpot database, it might be able to update a record. All of these things are possible with agents, and you're going to see a lot of agentic behavior from AIs in the next 12 months. I think there's a lot of hype around it at the moment. They're quite difficult to set up. They can be difficult to control. But Claude, for example, from Anthropic, is very good at this type of work. Beyond that, we haven't really got into this phase yet, but it's what's called innovators. An innovator is something that can, on its own, come up with new ideas and take innovative action. You're seeing some glimmers of this in the scientific world. Google have released some AIs in the last month or so, which are capable of doing brand new science, coming up with new ways of thinking. And I think that is really exciting. And then finally, at the organizational level, Sam Altman has often spoken about an AI that is capable of running an entire company. So it can run your marketing, your sales, your finance, your operations, your customer support. We are not there yet, but we are part of that, and we hope to release some products that fit into at least the sales and marketing side of that very shortly. Video is a big thing. If you've been keeping track of things, video last year took off with the Sora release from OpenAI. It's been pretty static ever since that. The quality of these videos is very high. As you can see, this bird is entirely AI generated. But until recently, the sound quality or the synchronization of sound wasn't there. This has changed in the last week or so from Google with the VO3 models, which are now able to produce fully full voice and sound effects, effectively mini movie clips. If you want to look up Stormtrooper video blogs and have a laugh at what's actually people are creating, this is an early indication of what's coming. You might laugh at this stuff, but it's going to be impactful for marketers and for filmmakers and for creatives very, very soon. In terms of what else is coming next, what's on the horizons, there's a couple of things. I mentioned the VO3. One of the things that we are deeply involved in is code creation. So we're writing applications, and we're using LLMs to help us do that. Specifically, Claude Code is a fantastic tool if you're interested in the development process. And there's something called the MCP, the Model Context Protocol, which allows models to talk to third-party systems. So you can link, OpenAI also support this, and as does Google. You can link an LLM to your HubSpot portal, or to your email system, or to your account system, or to your database, and you can ask it questions, you can ask it to take actions. So that, I think, is, you're going to see a flood of applications coming through, and I think that's going to be quite impactful. If I had to give one business tool as a guide for somebody to use if they want to get beyond ChatGPT and to move on to real business support, I would say deep research. Now, many of the model providers have their own research tools. Certainly OpenAI and the ChatGPT system has it. The difference here between a Google search, a web search, or even just a simple question that you put into the chatbot is the depth that these systems go to. So, for example, this report was on a company that we were asked to analyze. The system looked at 400 or 500 web pages in producing this report. It put all of that together. It created executive summaries. We used Claude to create graphs to illustrate it, and it was all the citations and links back with the references. This is a type of report that would a McKinsey consultant would charge you 10 grand for a couple of years ago. You can do this yourself. It might take you 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do this research, but it's 2 weeks of work for a researcher to pull all this together and to write it up and to summarize it. So this is now available for small businesses, for anybody who has access to these tools. I would use it. It is super powerful. One of the things that you can do, even as a small organization, is you can start using these coding tools to build internal applications. They don't have to be super sophisticated, but previously you might have had to pay a developer thousands of pounds to build these type of things, you can now do some of this stuff yourself. It's still early days. It's still a bit rough around the edges, but it is definitely possible. So where are we going? Where is this leading? And I think, well, this is a stated fact, that what these labs are heading towards is what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence, an AI system that are generally smarter than humans. The important point here is whether you believe or don't believe that this is possible. That is, could an artificial system be smarter than a human? I tend to come at it from a more pragmatic and practical point of view, saying it doesn't really matter. What matters is what they are capable of doing. Can they be impactful for your business? Can they be useful? Can they help you do your job? And I don't think there's any debate that they can, and that the impact that they're having is changing month on month in an accelerating way. So they're taking on more tasks, they're taking on more work. How can you get started? Essentially, there's two ways of coming at this. You can have a problem-based approach or a use case approach. Problem-based is somebody shouts at you and says, look, we have an issue, we need it solved. And then you try and figure out whether the AI can be useful to solve that problem. I think it's better to go down the use case model, where you look at, this was the problem-based approach, but a use case model is much more playing to the strengths of the AI. Is this particular problem data-driven? Is it repetitive, predictive? Is it generative? Or all of those tick boxes ticked, in which case it would be a good fit to be addressed by an AI. And one thing that you can do here is apply the 80-20 principle. You don't have to do everything. If you just focus on the top 20% of tasks, these are the ones that are going to have the most impact on the business and on your personal work and processes. So look at a small subset, go deep on them, solve some very specific problems. Don't spread AI across the entire organization and try and put it out everywhere. Find a particular number of pain points and apply it there. So here's an example that we've been working on with a number of clients, which is a traditional sales funnel approach where you have B2B contacts. You need to research those contacts. You need to score them to find best fit. You need some type of personalization, and then you need to integrate it into your CRM system. This is classic sales. And the old way of doing it would be to go off and research that company by hand. You'd go to look at their LinkedIn profile. You'd create some customized emails, and you would handwrite those and send them out. Might take you 45 minutes, an hour to do that as a sales executive. Using a system like ChatGPT, you can cut that down by cutting and pasting those information sources into the chatbot. And you can save yourself, you can cut that down to maybe 15 minutes, which is significant, all right? It's not transformative in the sense that you're still taking 15 minutes to prepare each email and send it out, but it's a big improvement. So what we're building for some clients is a way of doing that at scale. So we can take an entire database, a HubSpot portal, for example. We can review each of those contacts. We can get the AI to look at the LinkedIn profile. We can get the AI to look at the company's website and match it to the company itself, the products and services that are being sold. And we can create personalized emails at mass. So you can do this for 1,000, 10,000 emails or more per month. This is a dramatic way of improving conversion rates. Conversion rates typically go up in the region of 80% when you do this. Email is still an effective way of doing outreach in the B2B world. So the benefits, obviously, higher engagement rate, time saving, and scale. One of the things I mentioned that we are we're building We're building product to help small businesses take advantage of some of these AI tools, because there is a lot of friction still with using chatbots, is that they don't know about you, they don't know about your business, they don't know about your products and services, they don't know about your key buyer personas, they don't know about the current market research. So we want to change that with a product called Marketing Mary. And one of the things that we're offering today, you can actually use this right now. There's a link here at the bottom. There's a website we built called Helium 42, which is our consultancy division, where we help companies manage transformation with AI across cultures. And if you look for the AI marketing strategy menu option, you'll be able to put in your company details, and we will run an entire research run for you on your business and come back with recommendations. And that's something that you can try and use right now. It's one small component of a bigger system that we are putting together. And we're going to be launching this very, very shortly. It's something called Marketing Mary. And there's obviously a website around that as well. If you go to marketingmary.ai, you can actually join our early adopter waiting list. This isn't a paid pitch. This will be a free product. There'll obviously be a paid versions of this for those who want to use it heavily, but we will have a freemium version of this. So you'll be able to sign up for this and take advantage of some of the tools and capabilities of this system. What is the point of Marketing Mary? I think it's a problem that all small businesses have, that they have a problem growing. And why is that? They don't have the money, they don't have the time, and they really don't have the knowledge about marketing to enable them to grow and to generate leads. So the Marketing Mary solution is an AI-driven sales and marketing platform that allows you to do all of that. It's targeted at the small businesses who really can't afford the thousands of dollars and pounds per month that marketing agencies charge for their services. So this will grow over time in terms of capability, but you'll have strategy, you'll be able to talk to your personas, you'll be able to create content and create and get advice and guidance on marketing and sales strategies from day one. How does it do it? It's got an AI strategy engine built into it, an execution suite that can actually do things, and a massive amount of proprietary knowledge that we've built into and trained this system. So that's one thing that we're trying to contribute to the marketplace. In terms of your own personal journey, I think it's important to track this. You can start using AI tools. As I said, identify use cases. Look at the limitations, what these systems can't do, because that's as important as anything else. Learn to evaluate the quality of these outputs, and then integrate that into your day-to-day workflows so it just becomes part of your business process. And then you can use that to train others. And that leads on to mastery, where you can actually become a thought leader with a deep understanding of what these systems are capable of. So in summary, to prepare for an AI-driven future, you've got to embrace this technology. You've got to go deep on it. You've got to keep up to date. There's a classic saying is that your job is not going to be replaced by AI, but it will be replaced by a person who knows about AI. So I would encourage you to be that person, to learn, to keep up to date, and to accelerate your knowledge in this field. I'm happy to take any questions on this. If you need to contact myself or Peter, we have our White Hat email addresses here. There's the Helium 42 site, helium42.com, if you're looking for consultancy advice. And as I mentioned, marketingmary.ai is our new product. Peter, do we have any questions? Do you have any questions?
Yes, we have. So we have a question from Paul.
Okay, go for it.
He is asking, do you have any thoughts, opinions on selecting AI tools within existing business systems, Office, ERP, etc., versus looking for an external AI tool to work across the business systems?
Yeah, this is a common question. and it's a difficult one to answer in an easy way. If you're a Microsoft house, then Microsoft Copilot is the most obvious tool to use. Although having said that, OpenAI themselves are directly competing with Microsoft in the enterprise space. There's a number of instances where they have essentially provided an enterprise license for ChatGPT against Microsoft's own salespeople, because the technology is effectively the same. The Microsoft Copilot is ChatGPT with a slightly different twist and slightly different usage. So I would say, if I had to sort of give some advice on this, I would use whatever the company is advising you to use. So I wouldn't push against corporate policy. If you have to use Copilot, then use Copilot. It's not something we are particularly fond of. I think it's lagging behind in terms of the integration and its capabilities compared to the latest versions from OpenAI, but it's a great place to start. Similarly, if your organization is heavily onto Google tools, Google Docs, and these type of things, then Gemini is a fantastic product. The 2.5 model is super strong. The only other thing I would ask people to be cautious of is don't connect these things to your corporate databases without permission and without compliance and without review, because it's not always clear exactly what these systems are training on, because it varies in terms of the license for each one. So the lower paid tiers will definitely train on your data. And the last thing you want to do is to release your sensitive financial health data, personal data, client data into the web.
Yes, absolutely. I agree completely with that. I mean, even if we are giving a lot of data to the AI, we still haven't connected our Google Drive account.
This is true.
Because we want to share all our data with the AI, or, for example, client data, right?
Yeah. The other way to approach this, and it's harder, but it's possible, is for the larger organizations, you can use open source models. Well, there's two ways around that. You can use an open source model, and you can actually host that on your own computers within your own firewall. But there's a cost associated with that, and there's a technical configuration issues around all of that. Or you can go to private hosting like Amazon Web Services, which actually gives you private hosting for the Anthropic models. So you can have a guaranteed corporate instance of a model. And I think Microsoft can do the same thing for you. So you can have a firewall protected version of these models. And that's kind of what I would advise IT to investigate.
Yeah, and I would also look at the use case. So if you want to give the AI a lot of data, then I tend to recommend Gemini at the moment.
Yes.
Because it has the largest context window, so you can give a ton of data to the AI and get really detailed output. If you want to build custom AIs for your department, for your people in the organization, I tend to recommend GPT.
Yes.
Because the customization, the sharing option is just much easier with ChatGPT compared to Gemini. So
the third one I would say is, if you're a coder, if you're building applications and you want to use AI for code, then Claude Code is absolutely fantastic for that. Yeah. I know there's a reluctance from some of the major or senior coders in terms of the quality of code that these things tend to produce. And I completely resonate with that. But one of the ways that you can get into it early is that you can use it to do some of the heavy lifting. So for example, you can get it to do code reviews. You can get it to look at your existing code base and give you advice and guidance. Or you can get it to write unit tests. So you can get it to test your existing systems. And that's a relatively safe way of getting into usage for some of the code tools.
Yeah, absolutely. But just as a little disclaimer, this might change next week. So let's see what updates are coming, and then we might recommend other tools.
Everything might change next week. Yeah. Exactly. You're talking about GPT-5, maybe.
Yes.
we will see.
Yeah. Kluit,
yes.
If you're looking at marketing and sales,
yes,
can you give maybe one or two direct implementations for AI? Like, what are the straightforward like use cases you
Sure.
could see?
I'll give you an example in sales, which has been particularly useful for me right from the early days, which I think would be useful for a salesperson. It's not an esoteric, weird use case. It's just something practical. So if you're selling into business to business, often you will have multiple telephone calls with a prospect. You'll research that person. You'll have email conversations that have gone backwards and forwards. And at some point, you'll need to put together a presentation, whether this is PowerPoint or whatever tool that you use. And you'll typically have some type of template that you use for your business that presents your solution. And you then have to spend the best part of a day tailoring that template for the particular client that you've got. What we've found is that we can take all of those conversations, we can take the information that we have about our business and products and put that into something like Gemini, or in fact, any of the AIs will be able to do that. You can just give it a ton of stuff about you and your business. You can then take the transcripts from all of those calls and you can put that into the AI as well, literally cut and paste. And then you give it the template, page at a time. You don't need to give it the whole thing. And you can say, rewrite this page of the template based on the conversations I've had, based on what we've promised, based on the pain points that the person has raised. And you'll be genuinely surprised about the quality of the proposals that come out the other side. You don't have to hit a button and accept. It's not going to be perfect, but it's genuinely better than I was able to create manually myself in the past. And it would save me hours of work. So that's the first thing on the sales side.
Yeah.
On the marketing, or maybe this is something that's relevant to something you're working on, Peter, is image creation.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking the same.
Yeah, because, look, here's the problem. If you're creating images for marketing campaigns, whether they're blogs, whether they're social, there's a couple of things. Do you go to stock images, which are generally horrible and they're not on brand? That everybody knows what a stock image looks like. It's not really good quality. Or do you use one of your internal design teams, or you hire an external person to create some custom videos or images? And that's both time consuming and expensive, right?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about what you've been working on?
Yeah. So basically what we introduced just last week internally is our image generation process. So what we are doing is we take a lot of internal documents like the business summary, our buyer persona overview, our brand voice, our brand guide. And based on this, we create an image style guide. So this image style guide has a lot of information in it, like how we want images to look like, what objects or elements we want to use, how an image for LinkedIn should look like, or an image for Instagram should look like, what the message should be, which colors to use, and everything. So basically, it's a really long document. It's between 10 and 20 pages, depending on what you actually put inside. And then based on that, we start a process where we include AI. We first ask it to define or create a concept for the image we want to create. And then in a second iteration, it actually creates the image for us based on the concept. And the interesting thing about this, we can actually give it an entire blog article, for example, and say, please create me 5 images based on the main headings, for example. Then it goes off and creates 5 different concepts based on the image style guide that we created before, and then gives us 5 images in the end, which we can basically directly use. Sometimes we need a little bit of tweaking, but it's actually so good. The quality is super high, and it just takes maybe 10 minutes or so, or less, sometimes only 5. And then we have super high quality images, which are on point with our brand, which which add a great value to our blog posts, our LinkedIn posts, or whatsoever. So this is something we are currently using a lot and also introducing to our clients at the moment, because it saves so much time, costs, and it's just really good, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think it gets over this major flaw, if you like, or limitation of the AI systems, is that they're general purpose tools. They don't know about your business. They don't know about your brand. They don't know about your color schemes or your tone of voice, all of or your buyer personas, all of these different things. And whilst you can teach them those things, it's very difficult. And then you have to teach them again next time you use them, right? Yeah. So having this built into a workflow, both internally and for clients, is massively valuable. And this is something we're going to build into the Marketing Mary product, right? It's going to be a feature that we're going to release for general use.
Yeah, there comes a question from Manu. He's asking if we are using Midjourney for this. So at the moment,
we don't want to be sued by Disney. So the answer to that is no. You cannot create Mickey Mouse pictures using our image generator.
Yeah. So for the moment, you would try to stay away from Midjourney, to be honest, because they're having major legal issues. In general, we use GPT for this process at the moment. But we are also testing Gemini, because it's also really good at this. And to be honest, our go-to at the moment is GPT.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this is, as an agency or as a product, we can genuinely flip between the different models, and we can mix and match them without bias. So I think there's a German model from which is also excellent at image generation. It's supposed to be very good. So we might just plug that one in. A good example of that is the code generation tool that we're using to help us write some programs at the moment. We're using Claude Code, as I mentioned, but we've built a tool that allows Claude to talk to Gemini and to talk to ChatGPT, where they can debate code strategy before moving on and creating code. So we've actually got 3 AIs working together, cutting edge, leading edge models to produce the best solution. And you can do that when you're building product. You can't do that as an AI company, because obviously you're biased towards your own model. So we use all of the models when we use the best ones for the best job.
Yeah, exactly. Something I just wanted to say, I mean, obviously this is a really sophisticated process we have built, but if you just want to get started, use your brand guide, which has the colors and the fonts inside. Use your buyer persona overview, and if you have your brand voice, and then you just get started creating images with these. You get a ton of value out of this, and the consistency increases quite a lot. But if you really want to get it to the next level, try and implement this process we just discussed, or reach out to us. We are here to help you guys.
Yes.
There's another question from Paul.
Go on.
He's asking if you could also use AI tools to cleaning up your images, basically, like removing background or replace things that are on the image. Maybe I can quickly answer this.
Yeah, go for it.
Honestly, it's not quite there. It's difficult, but we are getting there. It's hard at the moment to keep the rest of the image as it is. It's different if you actually created the image inside the AI tool. Then it's easier to replace things or to remove the background. But if you put an image inside the AI and ask it to change something, it's tricky sometimes. So you have to be really specific in your prompt. But even then, it might take a couple of attempts to get it right. So all I want to say, it's difficult. It's not that easy, but we're getting there.
Wait for version 2, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if that is an issue, it is possible, but then you end up with more paid tools. So, for example, if you use Photoshop, Photoshop has a very good AI capability within it, where you can block off a part of the image, you can replace it, you can change it and modify it. But that is a non-trivial investment in terms of usage. But definitely you can do that with Photoshop.
Yeah. All right.
Are we done?
Yeah, I think that's it. No more questions.
Fantastic.
We gave a lot of value today, so I think.
I hope so.
That's all good.
We will put this out as a recording for those who couldn't attend today. And like I said, take a look at the marketingmary.ai website, sign up for early access to that. We're looking for some early adopters to join a community. And yeah, we're really looking forward to launching that and getting it out there into the marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said before, we're going to share with you an email which has the slides inside and also access to the recording. So you will have everything we just discussed today.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Peter.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.